You step through a narrow wooden door, and the first thing that hits you isn't the sight. It's the smell. It clings to your throat, a sour mix of sweat, rot, human waste, and the unmistakable sweetness of infection. You're not in a private room, of course. You're in one long hall where bodies lie inches apart, breathing the same heavy, stale air. The windows are shuttered tight because fresh wind is believed to weaken the humors. You try to find a place to sit, but the floor is damp, littered with straw that should have been changed weeks ago. A rat scurries past your boot like it owns the place. Somewhere in the darkness, a patient coughs, a wet, bubbling cough that makes the monk in charge quickly cross himself. You realize that nobody here is being treated. They're being contained, watched, waited on. A candle burns low, showing swollen limbs, oozing sores, and faces twisted in fever. You haven't even spent 5 minutes inside, and already you can feel your skin crawl. And this is supposed to be the safest place for the sick. You imagine a wise doctor walking in with clean robes, steady hands, and deep medical knowledge. Instead, you get a monk who barely slept, smells like incense and old parchment, and believes your illness is caused by imbalanced humors, or maybe Mars being in the wrong constellation. He approaches you holding a book, not tools, because for him, treatment starts with reading old Greek theories copied by candlelight, not by examining your body. If he quotes Galen, he's considered knowledgeable. If he quotes the Bible, even better. He checks your pulse, not to measure your heartbeat, but to interpret your soul's condition. He looks at your tongue and mutters something about phlegm and melancholy. And here's the worst part. He genuinely thinks he's doing the right thing. He has no concept of bacteria, viruses, sanitation, or even basic anatomy. Medieval laws forbid cutting into a corpse, so he's never seen the inside of a human body. You sit there watching him diagnose you like he's reading horoscopes, and you suddenly understand that this man, kind as he might be, has almost no chance of saving you. You lie down on a straw mattress that crunches under your weight, and it finally dawns on you. This place was never designed to heal you. It was designed to host you, the way an inn hosts travelers, until your body decides its own fate. The word hospital comes from the same root as hospitality, as in caring for the poor, the elderly, and the dying. Most patients here aren't expected to recover. They're simply expected to endure. You're fed soft mush so you don't choke, water so you don't collapse, and prayers so your soul stays on track. Real healing usually happens at home, if at all. Families treat their own wounds. Villagers use herbs and folklore. The hospital is where you go when no one else can take care of you, or when you're too sick to protest. You hear a soft moan from the next bed. A man turns over. He's pale, breathing shallowly. Nobody rushes in. Nobody checks him. He's just another body in a row of bodies. And as you look around, you start to wonder, if people come here to die, what does that mean for you? A monk finally approaches you with something that looks like help, but then you see what he's carrying. A small bowl, a bundle of leeches, and a sharp metal lancet. You don't even need to ask. You already know what's coming. Bloodletting is the go-to treatment for nearly everything. Fever, headache, stomach pain, sadness, bad dreams, or just a suspicious complexion. Illness is seen as an excess of humors, and the fastest way to fix that is to drain you like a wineskin. You extend your arm because refusing isn't an option. The monk presses the cold metal against your skin. The cut is quick, sloppy, and without any attempt to disinfect. Blood pours into the bowl. You grow lightheaded. If you're lucky, they stop before you faint. If you're unlucky, they keep going until your vision tunnels and your lips go gray. Many patients die not from the illness, but from the cure. When the monk finally wipes the blade on his robe, you realize something terrifying. He believes this just saved your life. You hear scraping metal before you see the surgeon. He enters carrying a bundle of tools wrapped in dirty cloth. Knives, hooks, bone saws, clamps, and iron rods, meant to be heated until they glow. None of them have ever been washed, let alone sterilized. If you've broken a limb or have a wound that looks suspicious, you're sent to him. But he's not a trained doctor. He's a barber. Someone who cuts hair, pulls teeth, and now, with alarming confidence, cuts flesh. When he tests the sharpness of a knife on his thumb, you notice his hands tremble from exhaustion or wine, maybe both. And then he looks at you. An amputation here is brutal and fast. No anesthesia. No soothing words. Just two strong assistants holding you down while the surgeon cuts through skin, muscle, and finally bone. A hot iron seals the wound, filling the room with the smell of burning flesh. Whether you survive depends entirely on luck, and luck is in short supply here. As the surgeon wraps his tools again, you pray you never end up on his table. If you think nature will save you, think again. The hospital's apothecary is a cramped room filled with jars of powders, roots, dried animals, and liquids that would terrify any modern doctor. You're offered a mixture that smells like rotting earth. It contains herbs, yes, but also crushed minerals like mercury and lead. Maybe powdered bones, maybe something worse. Recipes are copied from old texts, half remembered, improvised. Many ingredients are spoiled. Some are stored in damp wooden boxes crawling with insects. Nothing resembles modern regulation. The monk insists the mixture will draw out the sickness. You take a sip and your throat burns. Your stomach twists. You're not entirely sure if this is medicine or slow poison. Some patients swear by these remedies. Others tremble at the idea of drinking them. Most don't have a choice. And as the aftertaste lingers like metal and mold, you begin to understand why so many medieval cures were worse than the disease. You watch the surgeon finish one operation and go directly to the next patient without washing his hands. Why would he? Germs aren't real to him. Infection is caused by bad air or corrupt humors. Bandages are rinsed and reused until they stiffen with old blood. Tools are wiped on aprons. Beds are never scrubbed. If a sick man coughs, the droplets land on half a dozen people. It doesn't matter. Everyone here is already exposed to something. You lie there staring at the rafters, thinking about every cut, every cough, every rat that grazes your leg in the dark. You know you're vulnerable, but you don't know how vulnerable. Patients with fevers share space with those suffering infected wounds. Those with infections lie next to the dying. Those dying lie next to you. You start realizing that surviving the hospital might actually be harder than surviving the original illness. Your mattress is a sack of straw that smells of mold and sweat. The fabric scratches your skin and hides more insects than you want to think about. When you shift your weight, dust rises. Your meals come in a wooden bowl. Thin gruel, stale bread, and sometimes a bit of watered wine. It keeps you alive, but just barely. There is no privacy. Patients relieve themselves in buckets, and when the buckets overflow, which happens often, the monks throw straw on top. The air never clears. You hear a man begging for water, a woman sobbing quietly, someone muttering prayers in delirium. The hall is a chorus of human suffering. The staff isn't cruel. They're just overwhelmed, understaffed, and undereducated. They do what they can, which isn't much. As night falls again, you curl up and wonder, is surviving the hospital even possible? If you think you have it bad, look at the women. Many suffer complications from childbirth, infections, torn tissue, fever. But monks are sworn to avoid anything improper, which means they often refuse to treat women directly. Care becomes hesitant, delayed, or passed to inexperienced helpers. Infants fare even worse. They arrive sick or malnourished, and the crowded hall exposes them to deadly infections instantly. A baby's cry fades quickly here. Women with chronic pain are dismissed as melancholic. Women with bleeding are considered spiritually troubled. Girls with fevers are sometimes left uncared for because the monks fear temptation. You watch a young mother try to soothe her child while coughing blood into a rag. Nobody rushes to help. Nobody knows how. In a place already meant more for dying than healing, women and children stand the smallest chance of all. Night is the worst. When the candles burn low, the shadows stretch across the room like living things. You lie still, listening to the groans, the rattling breaths, the muttered prayers, the sudden silence when someone finally passes. The monks move between beds with lanterns, their faces pale and exhausted. They dread this shift, the dying hours, the cold hours. Rats emerge from under the beds, bold and unafraid. You tuck your blanket tighter, hoping they choose someone else tonight. Some patients scream in fevered dreams. Others beg for help. Others whisper to themselves in the dark. Every sound makes your skin crawl. You realize you are closer to death now than at any moment since your illness began. Not because your condition worsened, but because you're in the wrong place to get better. You count the hours until sunrise, hoping it comes fast. Morning light slips through the shutters, and you imagine something impossible. A modern hospital, clean floors, running water, quiet rooms, nurses who understand hygiene, doctors who understand anatomy, tools sterilized, treatments tested, infections preventable. You picture antibiotics, miracles in pill form, anesthesia, painless surgery, blood transfusions, vaccines, sanitation. Everything you take for granted today would be seen as divine magic here. In truth, it's science. Knowledge built over centuries of failures like the ones you're living through now. As you look around, the medieval hall feels even darker. Not because people here were cruel, but because they were trapped by ignorance. They did their best with what they had. And what they had wasn't enough. And suddenly, you feel grateful for things you never even noticed before. You step outside at last, breathing air that feels cleaner than anything you've ever tasted. Behind you, the wooden doors close, and with them, the moans, the shadows, the dampness, the fear. You survived the medieval hospital, something most people in this era never managed. You look back once more, realizing what this place truly is. Not a sanctuary, not a prison, but a mirror of human limits. A reminder of how fragile life once was, and how easily it could slip away. And as you walk into the daylight, one truth settles in your mind. You didn't survive because of the hospital. You survived in spite of it.